Hey everyone, it's Martin Schneider, VP and Principal Analyst at Constellation Research, covering CRM, some CX, some RevOps and growth, all kinds of great stuff.
We love those ops. And I'm Larry Dignan, Editor-in-Chief of Constellation Insights, and we're here, your co-host for CRTV episode 127. So today we're going to clear out some tabs we've been talking about all week on the team. And then after that, Ray's going to riff on Smartsheet and his work coordination platform ShortList. So let's get to the news. Tab number one we're covering this week. Slack is changing the world. It's the best thing since sliced bread.
Right.
The front door of the agentic enterprise. And maybe we'll finally see the value from $27 million spent by
billion.
Billion, that's right.
$27 billion.
I'm old school.
$27 million spent on a new UI for Salesforce. Really,
exactly. The new UI is actually here. So Slackbot launched this week, and they added 30 new features. It's a whole thing. Martin, is this the? Well, I guess let's just get to the punchline. The punchline was Slack CTO Parker Harris and co-founder made a joke and said, "Hey, you don't even have to log into Salesforce anymore," and because Slackbot's here, and it's an interesting take because one of the things I always think about with software vendors these days is, can they run headless?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking, Martin?
Yeah, look, it's a big move and big noise and a giant step for headless kind, right? But what's the reality, right? Yeah, like, can you kind of live in a world where Slack is kind of where you get things done, where your decisions are made, and all that great insights come to you? Yes, but that also means that you have the data and systems already integrated inside Salesforce, connected to Agentforce, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a yes, but though the foundations are there, and that's the important thing. Now what this does do for some of the larger enterprises who have multiple versions of even, disparate clouds, right? Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, bringing them together and making Slack a far more intuitive and collaborative way to get to Salesforce data, to interact with Salesforce data, to also act as the MCP for other, not just Agentforce agents, but other agents and from other apps that could be important to critical processes. Yeah, it's all there and getting there, right? So it's very important step, because apps as we know it, like in CRM and other things, are becoming headless. They're becoming commoditized. The agents are kind of ruling the day. So this is moving in the right direction of where do the humans kind of want to or should be interacting with the agents.
The other thing to note here is, if you look at the bottom of this little thing here where it says Anthropic and under the trust layer, what Slackbot is really doing from an architecture standpoint is leapfrogging the LLMs.
Yep.
Where it gets interesting here is the arguments they can swap out LLMs. But later in the event, it was also notable that Anthropic was, part of the launch event. So, there's also part of this where Salesforce is going through and basically trying to dispel the idea that Anthropic is going to kill all software.
Right.
Where it goes, we'll see. I'm not necessarily sure Slackbot's going to be, I'm a little skeptical because, we've been playing around with Slack for 5 years now, but maybe they finally got it right. Maybe it is the ultimate teammate we're looking for. I did a thing, we covered this a bit. I just kind of went through why Slackbot was so strategic. And our analyst, Mike Nee, he went through, is it the iPhone of enterprise decision-making? Color me skeptical, Mike, but we'll see where it goes.
Right.
Other thing worth noting this week is Gemma 4, which was Google's open source model. This is a topic near and dear to my heart, because the US is just getting it clocked by Chinese open source models.
Yep.
And right now, to date, it's been, a couple games in town. There's Gemma 4 now. Before that, it was all NVIDIA Nemotron. And, Jensen was carrying the torch for open source, and that was all great. But where you look at Gemma and why it matters is this leaderboard right here. This is the open source leaderboard. Yeah, we're getting dusted. And when I say we, is in the US. So personally, I just think the open source models matter a hell of a lot to the enterprise, because you're gonna have to customize these things, and it's going to be about domain knowledge, not necessarily, your big master foundation model.
No, yeah, totally. I mean, look, I think what we've seen over the last couple of years is just a very expensive global proof of concept, right? And now enterprises are going to need to leverage open source, just like they did around OSs and other things, to lower costs, to be able to innovate internally as well. So I mean, we've got to catch up, right, in some form or another, and that could be either in the actual development, right, and having open source models out there, but even in the consumption and use of open source models inside enterprises as well, right? So I think we're learning from frontier models and the companies that are owning them and putting them out, but enterprises need to kind of start to roll their own a little bit, right? And open source models are going to enable that. So I think it's important that we play catch up seriously here.
And it's important because you look at this leaderboard, and Gemma 4 is right there already, right from the go.
Yeah, well, but because I think the bar's low, right, in terms of getting there, right? Because so many people are consuming, but when you really look to build, and if we listen to Ray, and build is so much less expensive than buy, and in this case it is, right? You're gonna have to start having some uptake of these. Like, you have to have at least a couple projects going, even if it's your AI sandbox, right? That has to be inside an open source model.
All right. And a third thing we're looking at, HubSpot.
Yeah.
They have two agents that are doing really well. There's the customer agent and the prospecting agent. And they did an interesting little thing I will highlight right here. One of their agents, they are charging you $50. Actually, $50 still might work, considering if you don't need humans. But they're charging you 50 cents per resolved conversation. Which means, customers stop bugging you, you help them out, whatever. And the prospecting agent, they're basically charging you $1 per lead recommended for outreach, which means, it's a lead that may or may not work out. It's,
if a human did it, who knows if it works out either, because DDRs are DDRs, and that's all I'll say on that.
Exactly. Well, I've seen that debacle up front.
Of course.
Before. So the gist here is HubSpot is pricing per outcome.
Yep.
With these agents, which, will it work? Every time we've seen this idea floated, the customers kind of revolt and they're like, get the hell out of here. This one might just stick because I think it might be just timing, and it might actually be a right time.
Yeah.
But it also shows that I think we're going to see a lot of different pricing moves from a lot of these AI upcharges and different ways of measuring, because they're going to have to show our ROI.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to hear a lot more about outcomes and all that. Will SaaS vendors get it right? I have no idea. Probably not. I still think we might be 3 or 4 waves from actually getting this down for a pricing model that sticks for more than a quarter or two.
Right. Yeah.
But props to HubSpot for trying it out.
Yeah, but look, but let's take a look at what agents they picked and why they're the most popular. If you look at most of the CRM, CX providers, these are their most popular agents anyway. Not just because they're the most functional or the most mature. It is the ones where the use case is the clearest, the outcome is the most obvious, and it's the easiest to tie back to business outcomes, right? So it makes sense to pick these because these are the ones that everybody's kind of using. So if they want to both disrupt their own pricing, but also everyone else, it's kind of an interesting move to play with, right? Because again, these are the ones where you're the most likely to get an outcome, right? What, good or bad, right? So it'll be interesting, how that, the ROI is the most easiest in my mind to measure in these when you're actually getting those kind of last mile agents, right? That actually do things that a human kind of did, right? So there's, so it makes a lot of sense. We'll see, to your point, how's it going to play out? But I like that, you're starting to see even a public company take that risk, because these pricing models need to change. The value that we get from SaaS software isn't the value that we got, or at least the perception of value 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So it's got to change, or else these guys are going to get so commoditized down to just death, right? So, seeing a company like HubSpot, which kind of has a lot to lose in terms of it being a public company, having a lot of competition, both from the bottom of Zoho coming up, and obviously Salesforce having to continue to prove value and to be innovative. It's going to be interesting, right? We'll see how it plays out, like you said.
Yeah, and when I whipped this story up, one of the quotes from the fourth quarter earnings call that was interesting was the CEO was just like, mid-market companies don't care about AI for the sake of AI. They care about growth and returns.
Yep.
So that's the whole idea. And
show the ROI. Yeah, show the value, right? And it's that simple. And that they pick the two that can do that more than most of the ones that are involved, because they're either internal microprocesses that are super good for productive, but are they a dotted line to growth? At best, right. maybe, usually not, right? So, and it's stuff that you've already hired that person to do anyway. So you're not getting personal gains. You're not getting rid of people. There's really no no ROI. So these actually can show some ROI, both from keeping headcount flat or down, plus having increased capability. Those SDR, tools, they can go out to your dead leads and go do things that like a human just can't do. They can go analyze and try to start conversations with 100,000 leads if they felt like it, that were in your nurture pile, and pull out one, and now it pays for itself, right? So it's pretty wild. So if that turns into a good deal, right? So that's kind of the cool thing.
All right, that's all we have for this go round. So next up, we have Ray talking about Smartsheet and his shortlist.
Hi, this is Ray Wang with Constellation Research, and today we're talking about work coordination platforms and the latest shortlist. With the long-term disconnect between many of today's digital collaboration tools and the actual day-to-day work that must be carried out, today's employees face new challenges trying to keep up effective engagement with an increasing number of projects, colleagues, and stakeholders. So what's going on? Well, the more open and increasingly connected style of work, from chats to Slacks to agents, the quantity of information is really getting up there, and it's hard, not only what we create and what we consume and what we use, and the processes and the projects involved have increased in complexity. This is a huge market. We estimate that this market size is going to grow to $46.3 billion by 2031, growing at a rate of 11.4%. So what happens? You're using work coordination platforms to alleviate challenges by bringing structure, prioritization, and accountability to work. And that helps employees better organize, track, optimize their productivity and effectiveness. And these are platforms that enable people to be more aware of what they should be getting done, helping them plan and prioritize their work, and allow them to more effectively do their jobs. This is the heart of the real work that is getting done. They're not a place just to have conversations and chats, but you're seeing work coordination platforms manage and execute projects and business processes that are key to customer success. This is really what helps when you have a more structured tool and you'll be able to put this together. So what's part of it? You get admin controls, analytics, app dev environments, workflows, business operations. You're looking at collaborative features, compliance, governance, partnerships, customer references, deployment options, licensing options, and of course, display options, search, and security. So one of the companies that are on this list is Smartsheet. They're on the short list as a cloud-based work management platform because they're able to coordinate centralized task tracking, automated workflows, shared real-time views. You have a grid, Gantt, cart, calendar, and of course, it enhances collaboration, which is really important by automating notifications, updating project progress, managing resource capability, providing interactive dashboards for teams to stay aligned. These are all the things you want to do in a project. You want to be able to engage at a social level, and more importantly, you want to put together work coordination in one place. Why? This is an important product because centralized project management works very well. Automated workflows are there. These are the rules, the alignments, the alerts, the updates, or of course, flexible views. You want to be see things. You want a Kanban workbook. You want a Gantt chart. You want to be able to visualize the work in the preferred format. And of course, a lot of real-time collaboration in Smartsheet. A lot of users can edit sheets simultaneously, updating folks on the sheets, getting the reports and dashboards, and sharing that information to track project milestones. And of course, there's great resource management. You want to see how teams are doing. Do they have any more bandwidth? Are the resources there? And of course, companies are looking for AI-driven insights, lots of templates to get fast projects set up. And of course, you want to be able to integrate with tools like Slack, Microsoft, and Google Workspace. Companies that use products and work coordination platforms often see improved efficiency. They get more consistent information, they have better visibility, and that means more success in projects. So welcome to the Constellation Shortlist for work coordination platforms. Once again, I'm Ray Wang with Constellation Research, and more importantly, you're seeing Smartsheet on the list of shortlists.
All right. Well, that is a wrap on episode 127 CRTV. Look for our next episode in 2 weeks.
And next go round, you'll have new co-host with the wonderful couple from CRTV, Holger and Liz. And make sure you follow us on CRTV, on X and LinkedIn and all those good places. And we will see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. But always remember, get to our new website. Subscribe to the Insights. Subscribe to Constellation R on YouTube. So get all those awesome insights that Larry puts together. He is on top of all things tech, sometimes maybe even before the vendor knows it. But definitely be checking out the notebook and the insight section on the new ConstellationR.com. And again, we will see you soon. Thanks, guys.
Right.
All right. What is our number? What?
I don't know how to do the script.
What episode? 127? Like, not you on the show. That's what people will say to me. It's like a better face, maybe.
I think I have the same thing.
Better face, better voice, better personality.
Why don't we straighten his nose out? How about that?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Scoot back. Here we go.
Here, Vice President and Principal Analyst covering CRM, some CX stuff, all growth ops, all kinds of crazy things.
How's that stretch, man? I saw you, how's that back? You
feeling good.
Work it out and everything? You're ready to go? Let's do this again. Maybe without the...
Well, just trying to make it cash. Keep it cash. That's dynamic. All right, okay.
Talk about entertainment. Woo. From the top. Now we know what Ray's talking about. Yeah. More ops than you can imagine. It's an ops fest.
Every op's got to go.
Every fucking ops under the sun.
Every op's got to go. The agents are coming in.
I carpet bomb the world.
Yeah,
here we go. For real.
All right. Start again. Serenity now. Okay.
I
can't start if that's your face.
Wow, my
Larry?
face is so red. Dude.
Time to be crying.
Pull it together.
Oh no, now it's going to last at least another 5 minutes.
I know. Oh my God, it's terrible.
You can't laugh at your own day.
I know, jeez.
Do the outro and we're outie with the outro.
And it'll be a good Friday if we get this done.
Yep.
Get it?
Okay.
It's like Easter humor.